Hey there, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to part 2 of this series where we're going to be covering the basics of renewal architecture in Salesforce. I just installed a new Scratch org, so I'm going to be building this from scratch alongside you. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to go in the order of the 4 core themes of architecture, which we talked about in the introduction. So we're going to start with the data model. And in that, we're going to start with record types, which just enables us to have a different layout for opportunities depending on their record type. So sales opportunities will have a different layout than renewal opportunities. The other thing it enables us to do is give renewals a different set of opportunity stages or sales process. And it's important to distinguish them because renewal opportunities might not have the same steps that account management team goes through than sales. For example, things like prospecting doesn't really apply to a renewal opportunity. So that's the first thing we're going to do, and it's represented in this schema diagram here. Next, we're going to create a couple fields that will link each opportunity with its successor or predecessor using lookup fields or self-referential lookup fields to the opportunity object. And this allows us to compare subsequent renewals with the preceding opportunity and allowing us to determine whether or not that customer was upsold or downsold. This is critical if you want to understand revenue movement in aggregate at your organization, and we'll cover how to build those reports later on in this series. Then we're also going to talk about contract management, and this is critical in order to actually properly compare contracts of varying terms. If you have a 2-year contract and you're comparing it with a 6-month contract, you need to standardize that comparison by either annualizing the contract value or calculating the monthly revenue, monthly recurring revenue for each contract and comparing it that way. We'll talk about that as well. But let's get started with record types. So because this is a brand new Scratch org, I actually have to create 2 new record types. So we're going to dive into that. So we have to go into sales processes, and we're going to start doing that here. And we're going to make one for sales, which is just going to be a clone of master. And then we're going to make one for renewals. So sales is going to keep all the default stages as we see here. And then the renewal process is going to remove the ones that are specific to sales. So prospecting, qualification, for example. Let's remove those. Now we have 2 sales processes. The next thing we have to do is go in and create, well, both a page layout for renewals and also new record types for each type of object. So let's start with page layouts. I'm going to remove all these ones that are just default that we don't need. So let's get rid of them. And let's use this opportunity layout here. So the first thing we're going to do is let's just rename it to, we'll call it sales opportunity layout. And that looks good, so we'll save it. Now let's make a clone of this for renewals. So let's save as renewal opportunity layout. So now we have set the stage. We have a page layout for both sales and we have a page layout for renewals. We also have a sales process for each. Now we can go ahead and create the record types for each object. So we're going to go new, and we're going to create the sales record type, give it the sales process, and make it available for all of those different users. And we're going to assign it the sales opportunity layout, and then we're going to click save and new because we're about to create the renewal record type as well. So we'll call this renewal, give it the renewal record type, activate it, make it available, next. And we're going to assign it the renewal opportunity layout, save it. Great, so we've created 2 new record types. Now we have a way to distinguish sales opportunities from renewal opportunities. So let's go into the next step here, which is the creation of self-referential fields. Now the point of this, once again, is so that we compare contracts or opportunities with each other and determine whether or not there's revenue movement, i.e. is this customer being upsold or downsold? And the only way to do this correctly is by linking them together with referential fields, lookup fields to the opportunity objects. All right, so let's go ahead and create these self-referential fields. So we'll start with renewal of, and we're going to create a lookup, and we're going to relate it to the opportunity record. It's going to be called renewal of, and the child relationship should be the opposite because it's appearing on the other side of the relationship. So renewed by, add this field, okay. Let's go next. We'll make it visible. We want renewal of to appear on the renewal layout, not necessarily the sales layout, because it's the start of the opportunity chain, so it won't actually ever be populated. And let's not put these on related lists. There's not really a need. But it also would be the opposite if it was to be on a related list. So let's now go to renewed by. So we're going to make another lookup field. It's going to relate to the opportunity. It is going to be called renew by. We'll make this renewal of. We'll add it to both layouts. We will change this to renewal of. We're going to remove the related list from the layout and click save. All right, so we've added the renewal fields. Now let's go ahead and add the contract management fields. This is going to allow us, once again, to compare contracts of varying terms and make sure that everything is standardized either on an annual or monthly basis. In order to do this, we need contract term, contract start date, contract end date, ARR, and MRR. So I'm just going to create all those fields. And let's start with contract term, which is just going to be a number. So we go next, contract term, next. We will add it to both layouts. Now let's do contract start date, which is just going to be a date field. Make it visible, next. Add it to both layouts, save and new. Now we'll do contract end date, which is actually a formula. It's just the contract end date plus the term in months. This is just going to make it easier on the end user. I have the exact formula here. So if we want to reference that, you can just copy this directly, go to next, make it visible, add it to the layouts, and then let's continue onwards. Then we're going to do ARR, which is another formula. It's going to be a currency. Next, let's copy this formula field, which is the amount divided by the contract term times 12. And finally, let's do MRR. Another currency formula. Make it visible and add it to the layouts. All right, so we've created all the fields we need for basic renewal management. So the end goal that we're aiming for, by the way, is we just want to get a simple automatically generated list view like this, which is telling us which contracts are coming up for renewals. So we will get there. I do want to cover quickly how to clean up the page layouts because we just added a bunch of fields. So let's start by cleaning up this renewal layout here. So we'll add a new section here, call this renewal section. We'll also add a contract section. So system information, header visible on edit only. And also just to separate, we'll call this system information. Now let's just drag in the relevant fields. So start date, end date, ARR, MRR, amount. We'll bring renewal of, renewed by, contract term. That's good. And for sales, let's add in a new section. So contract section. Now let's drag all these fields in. So renewed by. All right. I think we're good. Now let's just take a look at the opportunities that we have here. So we have this one opportunity, and it's pretty clean now. All the relevant fields are there. So let's just populate some of these. So we'll make this 12,000. Contract start date starts today, 12 months. And you'll see all of these formula fields start to populate. We have ARR, which is the annualized value of this contract. This is the monthly value of the contract. It ends exactly 1 year from the start date, or exactly 12 months from the start date. What we need to do now after this is actually create an automation which will generate a renewal opportunity exactly 1 day after this contract ends. And by doing this, this is going to enable our team to manage upcoming renewals effectively, because these records need to exist and be in place and be linked to their originator in order to properly prepare for those upcoming renewals. So for the sake of keeping this video concise, I will end it here. But in the next video, we are going to cover the flow automation to automatically generate a renewal opportunity on closed won. And after that, we will cover how to build a simple list view report. So I will leave this at that, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.